ever found yourself really fascinated by those hidden chapters of history? You know, the stories of people whose influence, well, it undeniably shaped their world, but their full lives, the really multi-layered parts, often stayed just out of sight.
Mm-hmm. Not the big textbook names, necessarily.
Yes, we're talking about the unsung legends, maybe, the architects of certain subcultures whose brilliance, well, it went way beyond what most people knew about.
Right.
Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on one figure like that, a man known in a very specific, very passionate community as the Silver Fox.
Maurice Carver.
Maurice Carver, yeah. A name that, look, for anyone who knows anything about the history of the American Pit Bull Terrier, it's basically synonymous with the bedrock of game dog breeding.
Absolutely foundational.
But even legends, as you're about to find out, they have these fascinating, sometimes really surprising, maybe even a bit dangerous, less-known sides to their stories.
Always more beneath the surface.
So our mission for this deep dive is to really unravel this compelling kind of dual life of Maurice Carver. We're going to dig into his undeniable impact on game dog genetics for sure.
I have to. It's huge.
Yeah, delve right into the DNA of the breed. But we're also going to uncover this surprisingly robust and equally clever venture into the, let's say, clandestine world of bootlegging.
Which is a whole other story in itself.
Right. Our source material for this really fascinating journey comes mostly from www.abtinfo.com. It's a historical series that meticulously unpacks these kinds of stories, offering incredibly detailed insights from years of research.
It's a great resource, really deep dives.
And look, for those of you listening who find this history as captivating as we do and you really want to immerse yourselves even deeper, get into the real nitty-gritty of this world, we cannot recommend highly enough visiting the APBT INFO YouTube channel. Seriously.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Hundreds of hours.
Hundreds of hours. It's an unparalleled resource, meticulously researched history on the American Pit Bull Terrier, on game dogs. The content isn't just extensive. It's like really didactic, but also super engaging, profoundly entertaining if you're really curious.
Yeah, if you want the full story, that's definitely a place to go.
Definitely.
Now, to really get a feel for Maurice Carver's life, it's absolutely crucial to understand the backdrop, the world he lived in.
Right, the context.
Exactly. We're stepping back into the mid-20th century. Think rural Texas, okay, from the 1940s maybe, right through into the late 70s.
A long span of time.
A long span. And this wasn't like today, instant information, everything connected. It was an era where local customs were incredibly powerful. Reputations built word of mouth.
Face to face.
Totally. And ingenuity, often just born out of necessity. That was just how things worked. Communities were tight. Business, both legitimate and, well, otherwise, often ran on personal relationships, strict codes of conduct, unwritten rules.
Right.
And our sources for Carver's story, they're this really compelling mix. You've got some documented historical accounts, as much as you can document a life lived partly off the grid.
Sure. Deliberately low profile sometimes.
Right. These give us facts, dates, verifiable stuff. But then, layered over that, you have what's called Dogmen's lore.
Okay, what's that exactly?
It's this incredibly rich, vibrant, often fiercely guarded oral tradition passed down through generations within the game dog community.
The stories they tell.
Exactly. It's not just facts. It's the community's perception, the larger-than-life legends, the unwritten rules, the vivid, sometimes really gritty anecdotes that dry facts just can't capture.
Provides the color, the texture.
Precisely. It's a vital lens, though sometimes subjective, sure, but vital for viewing figures like Carver. It gives insights into his character, his methods, the deep respect he commanded.
So it's history and legend kind of woven together.
Beautifully put, yeah. So we're looking at a living narrative that's shaped his image for decades. And throughout this deep dive, we'll be exploring exactly how Maurice Carver navigated these two seemingly very different worlds.
Breeding dogs and illicit trade.
Right. And how he often used a common set of traits, defining characteristics that were invaluable in both.
Okay, so let's start with the man himself. The guy whose name became, like you said, almost a legend. The Silver Fox, who was Maurice Carver.
Well, he was born November 1916. Texas.
Right, in Texas. So his life really spanned a huge chunk of the 20th century.
Yeah.
Roaring 20s, Great Depression, World Wars, all the way into the later half. He saw a lot of change.
He definitely saw America transform, and he was certainly a participant in some of those shifts, albeit maybe in his own unique way.
And that nickname, the Silver Fox, it's more than just catchy, isn't it? It paints a picture immediately.
It really does. Cunning, sharp, maybe a bit sly, definitely strategic.
Yeah. And the sources suggest he might have even earned that way back. Maybe in his youth. long before the silver hair.
That's the lore, yeah. Which, if true, tells you a lot about his early reputation. Think about that.
Being young, maybe barely an adult, and already having that kind of reputation for being smart, strategic, seeing angles others missed.
Suggests a certain quiet confidence, maybe? A knack for staying one step ahead?
Definitely. And his reputation in the dog world, specifically within the APBT community, it's just massive.
Oh, it's legendary. No other word for it. Unequivocally one of the most influential game dog breeders in the entire history of the breed. Full stop.
When you hear his name, people who know the lineage, the genetics, they react differently. It's almost mythic.
It resonates, yeah, because they understand the depth of his impact.
But it begs the question, doesn't it? How does a person actually earn that kind of legendary status, especially in a niche, often kind of private, really competitive community like that? What do you think from the research really set Carver apart in shaping the breed's genetic destiny?
That is the crucial question. And with Carver, it wasn't just, breeding a few winners or having a good run. It was about this almost unparalleled genetic vision.
Vision?
Yeah, like an intuitive understanding that went way beyond just pairing dog A with dog B. He could somehow see beyond the individual dog. He understood how specific combinations would amplify the traits he wanted, generation after generation.
So less breeder, more like an architect.
Exactly. An architect of bloodlines, a sculptor of the breed's essence. His influence is, well, it's practically woven into the DNA of countless APBT champion lines.
Literally woven in.
Literally. If you trace the pedigrees of some of the most respected, most successful APBTs ever, you will find Carver's name, often multiple times. He wasn't just making good dogs, he was crafting a legacy, meticulously picking and pairing to lock in those characteristics he valued.
Okay, so give us some examples. You mentioned cornerstone dogs.
Right. You absolutely have to talk about specific dogs to get it. Two names always come up as pivotal, both in Carver's program and for game dog genetics overall. Ironhead and Bullyson.
Ironhead. Okay, what was his deal?
Ironhead wasn't just a tough dog. He embodied the peak of what Carver wanted to fix in his lines. Unbelievable stamina, that specific kind of gameness.
Define gameness quickly for maybe listeners less familiar.
Sure. It's that inherent, unyielding drive to continue whatever task it's performing, despite immense physical challenge, pain, fatigue. It's a core trait prized in this specific breeding philosophy. Not aggression, necessarily, but unstoppable determination.
Got it. Unyielding drive.
Right. Ironhead had that, plus exceptional physical ability and consistency. Carver saw how rare that package was, so he line-bred carefully to solidify those traits. Consistency, predictability, that was key for real genetic impact.
So making sure the offspring had it too.
Exactly. The lore talks about Ironhead's legendary wind, his ability to keep going long after others quit. Carver believed that was fundamental. Ironhead's genetics, managed by Carver, set a benchmark.
Okay, and the other one, Bullyson.
Ah, Bullyson. If Ironhead was a benchmark, Bullyson became, in many ways, the linchpin. He was the dog whose offspring spread Carver's genetics far and wide into so many other key bloodlines. He literally shaped the future.
How so? Was he just that good himself?
He was outstanding himself, yeah, powerful build, super intelligent, rock-solid temperament, but his real impact was his incredible ability to consistently pass those elite traits onto his kids.
A prepotent sire, they call it.
Exactly, a genetic powerhouse. Carver used him strategically, often using careful line breeding again, to really amplify those traits and magnified his influence across the whole breed. It said Carver saw these dogs almost like living blueprints, stamping their quality onto generations.
Not living blueprints.
Yeah. So when we say they became cornerstones of modern game dog genetics, what does that actually mean today?
Right, for the breed now.
It means their genetic pattern, thanks to Carver's breeding philosophy, still underpins a huge chunk of the APBTs you see today. Breeders now, whether they even realize it or not, are often working with genetic material tracing right back to Ironhead to Bullyson.
So their legacy is still walking around, essentially.
Absolutely. It impacts breeding practices today by setting that incredibly high bar for certain traits, conformation, athleticism, but also those mental aspects like gameness, intelligence. These dogs, through Carver's genius with genetics and his often closely guarded breeding strategies, they literally shaped the APBT for generations.
It's incredible. For anyone interested in genetics, animal breeding, even human lineage, this is a masterclass.
It really is. A profound case study. Someone who deeply understood and manipulated the genetic path of an entire breed. His foresight, his skill, Remarkable, and still talked about by people who really understand the science and art involved.
Okay, so that's the legend, the master breeder side of Maurice Carver. Huge influence, still felt today.
Undeniable.
But, like we hinted at the start, there was this whole other side. Equally fascinating, maybe definitely more dangerous.
The hidden chapter.
Exactly. So let's step away from the kennels for a bit, shift gears, and dive into the unseen side. Maurice Carver, the bootlegger.
Right. And again, context is everything here.
Set the scene for us. Prohibition.
Yeah.
People think, okay, that ended in 33, right?
Nationally, yes. The 18th Amendment was repealed. Done deal. But, and this is the crucial detail people often miss, rural Texas, all through the 40s into the 50s, even later, still had lots of dry counties.
Meaning alcohol sales were still illegal there locally.
Explicitly illegal by local law, a holdover. It wasn't just a few spots, it was significant areas.
So what did that actually mean for people living there, day to day?
Well, it meant if you wanted a drink, you couldn't just run to the store. No corner bar, no restaurant serving booze. Legally, anyway.
Creates instant demand, though.
Huge demand, a thirst that legitimate businesses just couldn't quench. And this, naturally, fostered a really robust underground economy.
Right. Someone's going to supply it.
Exactly. Especially post-war, economic opportunities could be scarce in those rural areas. So for some, bootlegging wasn't just, being a criminal. It was maybe a necessary, if illegal, way to make a living.
Killing a gap in the market, basically.
Precisely. It was in these very specific conditions that bootlegging, as the sources say, really thrived. People wanted it, couldn't get it legally, so those with the guts and the smarts to provide it found a ready market.
Enter Maurice Carver.
Enter Maurice Carver. With that natural sharp wit, the intelligence that got him the Silver Fox nickname, he saw this clear opportunity.
He saw the gap.
He saw the gap, the need, and realized he was maybe uniquely positioned to fill it. He had the cunning, sure, but also the discretion, the local knowledge you'd need to operate successfully there.
It speaks to his adaptability, right? Seeing opportunity where others maybe just saw trouble.
Absolutely. And think about the challenges. Dodging the local sheriff, dealing with rivals maybe, getting the liquor reliably from wet counties, moving it discreetly.
Yeah, lots of risks.
Huge risks. But Carver apparently saw these not as roadblocks, but as variables. Variables in a calculated game he was ready to play, and apparently usually win.
Okay, so how did he actually do it? Especially the hiding part. That seems like the trickiest bit.
And this is where his genius, that practical intelligence, really comes through. His method for storing and protecting the liquor. It was a masterclass in concealment, leveraged everything he had.
Not like hidden car compartments or anything?
Nope. Nothing that complex or potentially discoverable with a search. His hiding place was audacious, simple, and incredibly effective. He stored the booze, usually whiskey in mason jars, right under the wooden floorboards of his dog kennels.
Under the kennels, seriously?
Right underneath, and not just any kennel, often the kennel of one of his most intimidating American Pit Bull Terriers.
Wow, okay, so the dog was the security system.
Exactly. Why was it genius? Simple. Few would dare to inspect.
Yeah, I can see that.
Imagine you're a sheriff. Maybe a bit suspicious, or just a nosy neighbor. You walk up to a kennel, there's this powerful, alert APBT staring you down, maybe growling.
You're probably keeping your distance.
You're keeping a very respectful distance, you are not poking around, and you're definitely not trying to lift up floorboards near that dog. It wasn't accidental, it was a deliberate part of his security. The dog's presence, the perceived danger, was the first line of defense.
So the dog's reputation did the work.
Absolutely. The role of the APBT was critical. And these weren't just random dogs. They were often his most formidable ones. Chosen for their protective instincts, loyalty, that commanding presence.
They weren't just pets, they were part of the operation.
Active participants. Their natural territorial nature, plus Carver's training, meant strangers acting suspiciously were potential threats to their space. A space which, unknown to anyone else, held Carver's valuable illicit stash.
It's brilliant, really, using his main business to cover the illegal one perfectly.
It's that blend, right? Resourcefulness, using his existing kennel setup, and his deep understanding of both human psychology, how people react to those dogs, and the dogs themselves. He knew how to leverage that perceived danger. It speaks volumes about his practical smarts.
And there's a specific story about this, right? The sheriff's visit.
Oh, yeah. That anecdote is classic Carver lore. It illustrates everything perfectly. The wits, the risk, the reliance on the dogs, paints a picture.
Tell us about it. Set the scene.
Okay, picture it. Hot, dusty Texas afternoon, rural area, quiet. Suddenly gravel crunches. An unannounced visit. County sheriff.
Not just dropping by for coffee.
Definitely not. He's heard whispers, maybe from rivals, maybe informants, suspects, Carver's running liquor, tensions high.
So the sheriff walks up.
Sheriff cautiously approaches the yard, scanning everything, and he's met by this imposing chained pit bull, a dog named Red Rock.
Red Rock, okay.
Red Rock doesn't go nuts barking, no. He gives the sheriff, according to the stories, a low, steady growl. Deep, guttural. A warning. Yeah. The heavy chain rattles on the dusty ground, dust rising as the dog shifts. Powerful energy barely contained, and his eyes are locked on the lawman, unblinking. The message is clear. Don't come closer.
Dude, what does the sheriff do? He's the law. He must have dealt with dogs before.
He must have. But he sees Red Rock's posture, low stance, coiled muscle, total focus. He hears the growl. He feels that warning. And he makes a very practical, very human call.
Which is?
He decides to keep his boots and himself well clear of that kennel's shadow. He doesn't push it, doesn't demand to inspect, doesn't ask about floorboards.
Red Rock was enough.
Red Rock was more than enough. The sheriff, basically outsmarted by a dog and its owner, leaves, empty-handed. Suspicions may be confirmed in his mind, but zero evidence.
And underneath Red Rock?
Right under those planks and straw, several mason jars of high-proof whiskey, untouched, undiscovered, silently guarded.
Wow. Here's where it gets really interesting, right? That single moment.
It reveals so much. Carver's foresight, the calculated risk, his absolute trust in the dog, the effectiveness of his method, not just the hiding spot, but that psychological barrier.
He knew perception was key.
Exactly. He didn't even need to be there. His security system was alive. It's not just a funny story. It's a deep insight into how he navigated his world, turning his prized assets into his best defense.
Truly the silver fox.
No kidding. And what's so fascinating is how he managed this dual life, not just side by side, but almost symbiotically.
I mean, they connected somehow.
Yeah. By day, like we said, revered game dog breeder, trading dogs with other legends, Earl Tudor, Floyd Boudreaux, building his reputation, master geneticist, that's his public faith.
Respected, known.
Right. But then, maybe by night, maybe in the quiet hours, he's this other thing, a quiet operator in the backroads economy, doing things that were definitely illegal.
So how did those two worlds complement each other? Seems like they clash.
You'd think so. But the analysis suggests they actually required a remarkably similar set of skills. Core principles that Carver just applied across both areas.
So it wasn't like he was two different people.
Less that, more like he applied the same highly effective traits to different situations. He succeeded in both because of how he operated, not just what he was doing.
Okay, explain that. What traits?
Think about it. The things that made him great at breeding dogs: keen eye for detail, huge patience, judging character shrewdly, understanding complex systems like genetics.
Right. All essential for breeding.
Those were the exact same traits that let him thrive bootlegging. Both needed sharp risk assessment, total discretion, building and keeping trust in a small circle, anticipating problems.
Huh. Okay, I see the connection. It's the operator mindset.
Exactly. This interplay is what makes him so compelling. It shows how mastery isn't just about what you do, but how you do it. Versatility of character and intelligence.
Okay, let's unpack this even more. Those shared principles. That really ties his two lives together. It wasn't luck. It was his style.
Absolutely. His fundamental character, his operational style.
So let's break down those core traits. First, discretion. The sources say he was good at never revealing more than necessary. How vital was that?
Absolutely critical. In both worlds. In game dogs, your best asset is your lines, your pairings, your plans. Tell too much. A competitor gets an edge, copies you, dilutes your bloodline's value.
So he kept his breeding secrets close.
Very close. Known for being tight-lipped. Shared results only when they were undeniable. Now, apply that to bootlegging.
Even more important, maybe.
Paramount. Less info out there, fewer questions, less chance of attracting the sheriff or rivals trying to horn in. You wouldn't advertise, right? Word spread through trusted channels only. Maybe used coded language.
Subtle signals.
Exactly. Operating quietly, keeping a low profile despite his influence. That was key to survival in both. A practiced art.
Okay, trait 2. Trust in his circle. Sources say only a handful of friends knew the full extent of the bootlegging. Why was that so crucial?
It's pure security. In an illegal business, every person who knows is a potential leak, a weak link, a betrayer.
Minimize exposure.
Right. Limit the circle to the absolutely trusted few, proven loyalty, proven discretion. If he needed liquor moved, he used someone he knew intimately, someone solid, maybe family, maybe a dog world associate who understood the code.
And that trust mattered in the dog world, too.
Definitely. High stakes there, too. Valuable animals, breeding secrets. A breach of trust could ruin your reputation, compromise your whole program, even lead to stolen dogs. Carver built those relationships carefully. Over years, he relied on that trust for sensitive trades. His reputation depended on the character of those he dealt with.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, final trait, calculated risk. This seems central. The sources say whether matching a dog or moving a crate of liquor, Carver weighed the odds.
This is where his sharp mind really showed. It wasn't reckless gambling. It was analytical, thoughtful risk assessment.
How so in dog matching?
Yes.
Seems risky by nature.
It is, but it's calculated. You consider genetics, physical risks, potential success, the opponent's dog, the handler, tons of variables. Carver would study the opponent's line, their record, everything, weighing it against his own dog. It's a gamble, yes, but based on deep knowledge.
Okay, and how did that apply to moving liquor?
Same fundamental process, just different risks, legal risks mainly, arrest, fines, jail. But he'd assess routes, timing, weather, known police patrols, demand, profit margin, all of it.
He wasn't just winging it.
No way. He was actively mitigating risk, maximizing opportunity, using intelligence gathered through his network, maybe move liquor during a local festival when the cops are busy, take a back road he knew was clear, always weighing the odds.
So what can we, listening to this, take away from his approach, ignoring the legality for a second?
It's about really understanding your environment, knowing the variables, building that reliable, secure network, protecting your weak spots with foresight. Strategic thinking, adaptability, making shrewd calls under pressure. These aren't just for dog breeders or bootleggers, right?
No, they're universal. Principles for success in any complex situation. It shows how real mastery works across different fields.
Absolutely. His journey, it came to an end November 11th, 1979. He passed away in San Antonio.
Closing the book on a really remarkable, multifaceted life.
Yeah. And his legacy, it's crucial to see its dual nature, and it still shapes how people see him. On one hand, his breeding legacy, celebrated, revered, undisputed master in APBT history.
His contribution there is rock solid.
Totally. His name means something specific in those circles. Science, art, lineage.
Yeah.
His impact is undeniable. His dogs define the standard.
But then there's the other side, the bootlegging stories. Do they tarnish the image?
Interestingly, no. Far from diminishing the legend, they actually add this human dimension. Gritty, maybe, but human.
Fleshes out the character.
Exactly. Shows a man navigating complex, dangerous paths, maybe out of ambition, maybe resourcefulness, maybe necessity. It makes you ask, how do these complex, maybe morally gray areas shape how we see historical figures, especially from subcultures outside the mainstream?
Yeah, that's a good question.
In Carver's case, the bootlegging doesn't seem to cancel out the breeding genius. It enriches the story, makes him more complete, more intriguing, reminds us that people behind big achievements often live lives way more complicated, maybe riskier, than the simple summaries suggest.
It shows ingenuity thriving in the shadows.
Right. Pushing boundaries, finding unique solutions when the normal paths are blocked. Speaks to human adaptability.
So the image we have today of the silver fox, it's not just the guy holding the champion dog, though that picture is iconic.
That's part of it, a huge part, but not the whole story.
The lasting image includes the wily Texan, right? The shrewd operator who knew how to outsmart rivals and definitely knew how to outsmart the law.
He wasn't just clever, he was cunning, resourceful, understood people, knew the limits of authority, master of leveraging circumstance.
And crucially, like you said, he did it all with a loyal bulldog standing guard over his secrets. That image is powerful.
It's deeply symbolic. It's that blend. His cunning mind, his expertise in dogs, and that incredibly deep bond with his animals.
They weren't just tools.
No. Assets, yes, valuable ones, but also partners, protectors, silent guardians of his whole dual life. They served him in both worlds, embodying the loyalty and strength he valued.
So what's the final takeaway on his legacy?
It means Carver's remembered not just for the genetic masterpieces, but for that audacious, independent spirit. How he lived life on his own terms, a testament to ingenuity, adaptability, carving your own path, often with a loyal, powerful companion right there, guarding your secrets.
It's a story that goes beyond dogs or bootlegging, really. Universal themes, resourcefulness, self-reliance.
Exactly. How ambition navigates the rules, both written and unwritten.
Okay, so we've taken a really deep dive today, haven't we, into Maurice Carver's compelling double life. legendary APBT breeder shaping a breed for generations.
And the resourceful, cunning bootlegger using his dogs and wits to navigate dry Texas.
Yeah. His story, it's just a powerful reminder, isn't it? History is packed with these complex characters. Their full stories give you surprising insights, maybe uncomfortable ones sometimes, but real glimpses into the human experience.
You really need the whole picture, all the layers, the contradictions, the unexpected links to truly get a legacy.
Absolutely.
And maybe, as you think about Carver's life, consider this. How do different times, different rules, especially rules trying to legislate morality or restrict freedom, how do they push people onto unique paths?
Forcing innovation, maybe?
Maybe. How do those conditions blur the lines between legit and illicit? And what does it say about, the human spirit's adaptability, its ingenuity, that it so often thrives in those margins, finds ways around obstacles?
Find solutions where others just see barriers.
Exactly. It's a question that goes way beyond Carver, touches on resilience, inventiveness against constraints.
That's definitely something to chew on. Before we wrap up, though, we absolutely have to reiterate something important for anyone really hooked by this.
Oh, yeah,
If
definitely.
you want to immerse yourself even more in the rich, detailed history of the American Pit Bull Terrier, the game dogs, understand the lineages, the legends, the lore.
All the stuff we could only touch on.
Right. We wholeheartedly, seriously recommend visiting the APBT INFO YouTube channel. It is an incredible library, a treasure trove.
No exaggeration, hours and hours of deep historical dives.
Hundreds of hours. Meticulously researched, detailed, engaging content, perfect for a deeper dive way beyond what we covered. If you're curious about this subject, it's unparalleled.
Absolutely essential viewing if this sparked your interest.
Couldn't agree more. Well, thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the fascinating, complex life of Maurice Carver.
Thanks for listening.